With City Skylines 2, I've been trying to find a balance between what goes into a video and what doesn't go into a video. And that's mostly to stop things from being super duper repetitive, because we focused a lot thus far on things like suburbs and education. So I got thinking about it and I figured I didn't really want to focus on education for another episode, at least not this soon in the series. And so since that last episode, I've been a little bit busy going around and placing more elementary schools, which means we now have a capacity of 19,500 for our elementary schools. We still have demand, or we still have 25,500 people that are eligible, but honestly, it's not so bad. I'm kind of okay with that. We're also seeing an increase in the number of people eligible for college, even if not all of those people are going to college. And we're seeing similar with universities as well. So I'm hoping that education, as the months and the years go by, is going to level out and start to make a little bit more sense. And just in case you're curious, we have a new elementary school right here in Laurel Grove, and we have another one over here just behind the university, which I figured was probably a good space for it. Another little cluster of education in here isn't going to hurt. And then just behind it, I decided to add the Polaris Suites, which is a signature building adding +4 well-being within a single kilometer, which I figured was good because we did have a bit of a crime problem in this area. So I think we've sort of figured that out. And given that we have demand for just about everything, I do think the city is starting to head into a period of growth again, which is absolutely fantastic. Although it's going to take a little bit for this area to grow because it's still horribly polluted. And what happened in here? How did this happen? How have we got... Oh, you're on fire. That's not good. How did you flip over? Man, I don't even know. I don't even know sometimes. Anyway, I have some ideas for what I want to do in this space right here. And this is sort of where I want to focus things today. But before we get to that, I want to come back up to this industrial space because I did at one point talk about the idea of putting a cargo train station in here. And I still think that would be a pretty good idea for this space. The only thing is, if we go ahead and just level out some terrain here, which we're absolutely going to need to do. So we'll get a nice strong brush for this. We'll go for 200 on the size. We will flatten this out as best we possibly can up to about there. We'll come down like this. I'm pretty sure a chunk of this is going to flood, which is not exactly ideal. I'm going to be honest. It's not exactly ideal that this is going to flood, but I'm pretty sure if I go in here with a bit of a smaller brush and we just try to do something like this, it might help us out. Not 100% sure that it will, but I'm kind of hoping I can just get a nice little slope that's going to take a chunk of that water away and stop this plane from flooding. Or this will just keep flooding and getting worse. So instead, what we'll go ahead and do is grab ourselves maybe this contour line right about here, and we'll just flatten it out to about this height, which means that whatever we build here is going to be a little bit higher than the rest of the industry, but that's okay. I'm not really wanting to spend forever on this project. I want it to be a little bit more functional than it is stylish. So we'll get ourselves a nice flat area right about here. And just because I like to be able to see the canvas that I'm working on, we're also going to go in and take out all of these trees because I mean, yes, I placed most of them and yes, they have taken time to grow, but I want to be able to see what I'm working with. So that's what we're going to do. And we'll also just tidy this up a little bit like so. And like so. Now, obviously, these tracks are a little bit lower here. Not ideal, but not necessarily the end of the world. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get myself let's see, can I get you to line up nice and square with this road? Is that going to be something we can do if I turn off my guidelines here? It absolutely is. So we'll do this, and we'll do this and take this bit out, which is going to mess with some of the existing zoning, but that's okay. We can just go ahead and put that back. Let's see, turn off building snapping right to about there. We'll go ahead and get the industrial zoning right back into all of this space as well. So right about there. And that'll stop most of those guys from complaining, except for you for some reason. That's a bit weird. Why do you guys, there we go. I don't know why you're still complaining, but honestly, it's fine. They can deal with it. We'll figure that out eventually. But the reason I want this to be in line here is because I sort of have a decision to make. If I build this road out and I go into my trains and I get myself a cargo train terminal, we can build it right here. And that's going to give us some train tracks that could connect to this little section that's already here. The only thing is that's probably going to be a nightmare for traffic. So I think what might make more sense is building this cargo train terminal somewhere like, let's say here, and then bring in some roads sort of down and around this guy so that essentially we can flip it around and have the trains come in on the other side. That's kind of my thinking here. So basically grab you. We want to move it and put it right about there. I'm also wondering, can I get one of you guys on this side? No, I'm going to have to shuffle it along a little bit further because I do want that extra bit of storage. So we'll bring you to about there. We can do something like this. I'm kind of okay with it. We can do the extra little bit of track right there as well, which is going to make this place look a little bit busier. And then we can just connect you guys together like this, take out those bits. We'll figure out the connection between these two spaces eventually. And then these guys are just going to go up and connect to the existing track. So what I'm going to do is basically take out, let's see, I'm going to take out these bits. I'm going to use my slope terrain tool to get this to be a little bit smoother. And we'll connect everything together. We'll get this to be nice and functional, nice and quickly. And then we can get on to doing what I actually want to focus on today, which, like I said, it's not, this isn't the priority today. I have a really cool idea for a little sort of low density neighborhood close to the city that I want to try out. So that's going to be my goal. I just want this place to look cool as well. All right, so I figure this is probably fine for our connection. It lets us go in both directions, which is totally fine. And it keeps things away from this existing connection, which again is totally fine. Now, what I think I will do is I'm going to go in and take out some of these buildings. I'm going to take out this guy and I'm going to shuffle this taxi depot to a different part of the road. I can get it up here, which I'm sort of okay with doing. So we're going to do exactly that. We're going to move this guy into this space where it's hopefully going to stop complaining about the road issue, which it has. Going to take this road out as well, and then go ahead and hit this area with a bit of a slope terrain tool so that I can hopefully get the terrain to behave a little bit better, or the roads to behave a little bit better in here. So doing something like this, it does sink down again. I don't necessarily want to do a bridge here. I think that might be a little bit too extra, to be completely honest. I think it's probably a little bit unnecessary, but it also sort of feels like it's kind of my only option. I mean, this is ridiculous looking, but we might want to elevate this a little bit, especially given, well, there's not that much traffic going through here. I really don't want this to be a really steep, sharp hill. So I might come up with something else. I guess we could sort of come down this way, which wouldn't be, the worst thing in the world, but maybe I just bite the bullet. Maybe we just say that we do have a bit of a sharp hill in here. I'm probably never really going to look at this space again anyway, so I'll allow it. Just this once, I'll go ahead and allow it. It's going to be this. It's not that steep. It's not that bad, so it's probably fine. So before I go ahead and zone this entire thing, I do want to start putting a couple of alleys in here just to change things up a little bit, because I never really use alleys in any of my building. And I think they're interesting looking little roads, and they do sort of let us continue this in a way that looks kind of cool. And they're going to let us fill in a lot of this space as well. What I might also do is use alleys to sort of build a little closer to this track up here. I don't think we need to be doing, I don't think all of it needs to be zoned, but I do think we can get a little bit more density in here just to make the space look a little different. So we can go something like this, fill in that space. We'll leave this bit a little bit more open, do some trees and stuff around there. And I'm also thinking that since we have, I think, a relatively flat space here, I could potentially build something like the chemical plant out here. We do have this as a signature building, and it does give us plus 1% industrial efficiency across the entire city. So it might not be a terrible idea to get ourselves a little bit of an industrial buff to the place. Although, in saying that, I feel like I could just take out that road and go ahead and place this guy right about here, which is not a terrible looking spot for it. It does have some weird terrain stuff going on though, which I don't really love. So maybe we don't do that because it looks kind of terrible. Or at the very least, I could just move it back a bit. Now, an interesting thing about the chemical plant is that it can have up to 779 employees. So I figured I'd build a little bit of space back here, and maybe we just do something like a very large parking lot to fill in this space. This can have up to 321 parked vehicles, which is hopefully going to be enough. I'm also thinking we probably want to bring some buses out to this entire space, but for now, I think I'm just going to zone this entire thing, and we're going to get some buildings in here. So we'll go from here. We will cover this entire thing in industrial zoning. But what I want to do is essentially chop out all of, let's say, up to about there. We can maybe go and sort of gradually bring this up to size right there. This can be a little bit bigger as well. This can be a little bit bigger. And we'll just try to sort of respect the fact that there is a bit of a slope right there, and that should be okay. As for the rest of it, honestly, that's probably fine. We'll go ahead and let the simulation run. Most of this will fill in pretty quickly. And then what I can do is go ahead and get myself just a few trees around this entire thing. We'll get ourselves some alder trees. We'll get a nice brush for it, bring the brush size down a little bit, and we'll just start filling in all the gaps that I've made. I think we can also bring some trees back from the water's edge down here because it looks a little bit silly. Oh, now I love this. The old factory condos. It's an old factory converted into luxurious living spaces that spark joy in their inhabitants. That is such, where is it? There it is right there. How big are we talking for this? That is such a good looking building. I kind of want both of them. I'm going to be honest. I do kind of want both. Look at you. Look at you. Oh, that is beautiful. That is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful building. I don't know where I'm going to put it in the city. We're going to have to figure that out for sure. But I will say, as far as industrial expansion goes, this is obvious. It's not the most inspired in the world, but this does have some benefits. I mean, we have the plus 1%. We also have the cargo train terminal. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at my two cargo railway routes. One of them is being used, one of them isn't. And I think what I'm going to do is delete both of them. And we're going to see if we can figure out something that's going to be a bit more efficient, because let's see. Let's say, oh, what way do I want to do this? Let's say I want something that comes in from here. It can run all the way down to here. And then on the way back, oh, I don't know if I do want to do it that way. See, my thinking, how would I do this? Maybe we have one that goes from here instead. And then it goes out to whatever that city is. And then I sort of want it to come back, I guess. I don't love this. Oh. See, my thinking was I want something that kind of loops around this entire way. I just don't know if this is a great way to do it. I guess we could have something that comes back, and then we'll have it go back out and down to here. And then from here, it would have to come back and complete the line, I guess. So I guess it goes from here to the city, from the city to here, down into my city, back to here, out to the city. So yeah, I guess that's okay. That's one way of looking at it. Although I don't love that we're using sort of that same platform for all of this. That seems like it could get really messy right there, but we'll give that a shot. I don't love it. I absolutely don't love it, but it's I guess that's what we're going to do. Let's get something pretty simple set up for this one as well. We'll go from here to there. We'll go from there down to here, and we'll just sort of complete the line. And so that gives us 3 railway routes. One of them is ridiculously long, but I'm hoping that'll be okay. I'm also going to bring the number of vehicles down because I don't think we're going to have enough. So we'll do hopefully just 1 cargo train, maybe 2 for some of these guys. Again, not really too sure how it's going to work out, but we'll see if we can get the numbers down just a little bit so that we're not overwhelming the trains and all that good stuff. We should start to see some cargo trains coming through here though, which is hopefully going to be good. There's one of them right there. So we'll let that guy go about his business. Hopefully we're not going to have too much traffic getting held up by the trains. We will have a little bit getting held up as the trains head out, but we should be okay. And so if we come back down towards the city, we have Laurel Grove right here, which is this space we started working on in the last episode. If we have a look at pollution, it is slowly starting to clear out. We can see it's getting a little bit lighter. We're seeing more buildings filling in all the different spaces, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm not 100% sure if I want to keep this space as purely residential, even though we have the demand for it, just because it's not going to build for a while and it's going to really annoy me that this is going to sit here empty for the next probably 6 hours, to be completely honest with you. I've played about 2 hours ish between episodes, and this is all that's built. So I don't know. I might swap this out for some offices. The problem is there's no medium density offices. So the most I could do is either very small bits of zoning for high density, or we have to deal with the smaller office buildings like well, these guys. So I don't know. I'm going to think about it. We're going to see what we can do with Laurel Grove. By the time I'm done working on what I'm going to work on here, we might see some good developments anyway. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm considering it. If you've got any ideas for this space, do let me know in the comments, though, and we'll see what we can come up with together. Anyway, when it comes to this space here, I have a bit of an idea that's going to be a little bit different to what we've done before. I kind of want to get some low density housing in here. It's not quite going to be the same as the suburbs because this is relatively close to the city. So my thinking is it's going to be built mostly on a grid, but I'm going to offset that grid by getting some natural stuff in here, such as a little river. Now, how I'm going to do that, I don't necessarily know, but we're going to figure it out. So I'm going to grab myself a bit of a slope terrain point here, and I'm going to say that I want to go from, let's say here, and we're just going to sort of cut in. We're going to follow the terrain a little bit. We'll kind of come down like this. This is probably a little bit wider than I want it to be, but that's okay. We'll hit, with a nice smoothing brush at some point. Sort of bring this right down to about there. And I basically just want a little river that's going to cut through this entire space. We'll go for a little bit steeper on this because we kind of need the terrain to, kind of need the water to flow a bit better than it's currently doing. I might, is that going to work? I don't know if that is going to work. This might be a little bit too wide, to be completely honest with you, but we'll figure out. Yeah, it's going to be a bit too wide, isn't it? It's definitely going to be a bit too wide. Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's bring a bit of a smaller or a softer brush in here, and let's bring a bit of a smaller brush as well. We'll go ahead and just sort of lower this guy a little bit. Something like that should be fine. We can lower this guy a little bit. Something like that should be fine. And again, we'll go in here with a bit of a slope terrain tool and see if that's going to help things just a little bit. And so with this done and working and flowing and sort of looking the way I want it to, now what I have to do is come in here and border the entire thing with some roads. So I'm going to essentially be doing what we did before. I'm going to just bring some terrain out like this, and I'm going to find a nice point at which we can have this sort of slope and hopefully work. So what we'll do is start right about here, and we'll go ahead and just level this guy out. This is going to be a bit of a mess for a little bit while we get these slopes to work exactly how I want them to. But my thinking essentially is that we slope from here. We'll go in a nice sort of straight line like this, and then sort of curve it around and line it up like this. So this is going to go straight across, curve around. This bit of terrain is all going to be taken away. But what I need to do is get myself some roads up there and then line everything together. So this is going to need to be, I think it's 5 meters if I remember right. Yep. So 5 meters right about there. I was going to try and get it to be parallel to a lot of these existing roads, but I think that's going to be a waste of time. So what we'll do instead is just get something that looks roughly the way I want it to. I do kind of need this to be flattened out though, so it's nice and level so that this road is plus or -0, either one. And basically, that's basically that, I suppose. Now, if I was to turn on my guidelines and get myself just a little curve between these guys, I want to see what that's going to look like, because this honestly might not be so bad. So 190 meters there. If I was to bring this down to 167, 187, 196, it is -8. It is cutting away at the terrain there, which isn't good. We might actually need to do something about that, because I don't love it. So we'll take that out. And what we'll do is just slope this terrain and push it back a little bit so that we're not going to be dealing with that weird sort of curve going on. We'll bring this down again. We'll line it up. So 190. And again, it doesn't need to be perfect, but as close to 190 here as we can get would be great. So we'll do 187. We can connect these guys together. It's a very, very slight gradient. And then all I need to do is go in and essentially take out this terrain that is going to be on the water side. So if I just slope terrain from here, my hope is that we can create something that's gonna, it's gonna look man-made, or at least it's, well, it's gonna look man-made, he says, building a giant concrete wall. Duh. What I mean is, I want it to look like a combination of like this island existed at one point, this little river existed, but they decided to build, you know, a nice neighborhood essentially in here. And so they bordered it with some nice roads, some quays, all that good stuff. Obviously it's man-made. Look at it. Okay, so while this is by no means perfect, this has immediately turned out so much better than I was expecting it to. I'm kind of excited to get some landscaping at these little ends at some point as well, but what I'm most excited about right now is the idea of coming in here and just placing a whole bunch of roads. The only thing is, I really want to use these alleys. I think they would look amazing for this space, but they don't have sidewalks. And I don't know if, also I know traffic is completely messed up over there. I don't know if people will walk on an alley because it doesn't have sidewalks. I mean, we have, hold on, we have someone here. Oh, they do. Wait, no, you might have been going, ooh, were you going into that building or were you walking down the alley? That's the question. If they walk on them, then that's perfect. I mean, yes, they're walking on technically a road, but they're still going to walk on them. And that's all I really care about. So I guess I'm going to do a little bit of a test. I'm going to take out some buildings here and I'm going to put a little alley right across. No, I want to lower you down a little bit. I want to do a little alleyway that's going to go through here, up to here, and across to there. We can do some industrial zoning on this guy. And I guess we'll see if anyone sort of walks around there, and we'll see if that actually is something people can use to get around. I guess up here is a test as well. We don't have any sidewalks for any of these buildings, and I don't see anyone walking around. So maybe it is a case that they just don't walk on alleys, which wouldn't be ideal. I mean, it's a neighborhood. I don't know if I'm going to zoom in to see people walking around. I don't know if it really matters. From a distance, it's going to look the way I want it to, but I would like people to be able to walk around. That's something I would really appreciate. So I might just have a look around and see if they do walk in the alleyways. And you know, I realized the easiest way to test this is probably going to be to go into the downtown area, take out some buildings and push an alleyway through some existing space just to see if it works. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to push an alleyway going straight through here. It's going to mess with my zoning, which I don't love. I'm actually going to take out some buildings like this and do it slightly differently. So we'll go for here and we'll just go straight across like that. Again, it messes up some zoning, but it's not the end of the world. This is at least a way in which we can test to see if people will walk in an alleyway, and they do. Okay, wait, no, they're going into that building, or are they? No, they are walking on it. Okay, so the lack of sidewalks doesn't matter. They will walk alongside this thing even without, okay, right, I'm using alleyways for my neighborhood. That's all I needed to know. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't love this road layout, but I'm going to let it build. We're going to take a look at this entire thing from a distance. This is all North American housing. It is all low density on the island. And then it's row houses that I've got along here, along this, this avenue. But what I'm thinking I'm also going to do is then get in behind this row housing and basically say, I don't know about these avenues, but I think essentially all of this is also going to just be low density housing. So basically all of this space is going to be filled a little something like that. We can go ahead and say that all of these guys are going to be filled up as well. I'm obviously going to have to do a lot of detailing around here. Ooh, rock musician mansion. Don't mind if I do. There is obviously going to be a good amount of detailing to be done in here. There's going to be a lot of landscaping to be done as well. But I just want to see what we can do. I just want to see what this is going to turn out like. I want to get an idea of what this space is going to be. And I'm hoping that the row houses here will be a nice sort of buffer between this avenue and the low density stuff. And then I'm hoping with some landscaping and with some parks and some plazas and all that good stuff, I'm hoping we can do some good here. I will say, I don't think these guys should be zoned. That can probably be some kind of little park. It is a bit weird that this is just left open, isn't it? I don't know that I love that, but I'm pretty sure we can go in there with something like a small park or a plaza, or we can go in with maybe a large city park if I really wanted to. Can I get the large plaza in there? Is that going to be an option? I don't think it is. It's, oh, it actually is. That's interesting. I don't mind the idea of doing that right there, just to have some kind of central thing in this entire space. Obviously, we're dealing with different terrain heights and stuff like that, but I don't mind that too much. Again, with a bit of landscaping down and around it and in all these empty spaces, I think this will look okay. As for this space here, we do have some weird sort of zoning stuff going on. So I think what I'll do is turn off a bunch of my guidelines, get myself the continuous curve tool, and I'm basically going to try to follow the curvature of this road. And in doing that, I should, and I absolutely do, get some zoning in here. So we'll go ahead and get some North American low density into that spot, and that looks fine. And honestly, I kind of like this. I don't love this bit. I might continue these straight roads to kind of keep this grid going, and I might sort of continue it down here as well. But I actually don't mind this. I'm also really liking the smaller houses that we have here. Yes, they're weirdly backed up against this road, And when you zoom in a little bit too much, it kind of falls apart, but I do like this a lot, actually. And I'm also thinking we can do the rock musician mansion right down here at the bottom of all this space. And again, we can get some landscaping in around that guy. Although I will say, I want to just fix whatever's going on with the terrain here, because that's a little bit weird. That should be a little bit smoother right there. And it's absolutely a bit smoother now. I do like this guy being down here, and I do think we'll go ahead and just say that the rest of this space can be zoned. I think what we'll do is we'll zone around this a little bit. We'll do like a house there. We'll leave the rest of this land open. So again, we can do some custom landscaping around it. And I do think going in here and sort of continuing this little grid that we have going on, I think that's going to be for the best. I think it's going to look better if we do that. In saying that, pushing a road straight through, probably not a bad idea either. But either way, this little sort of tilted part needs to go. At least this part in the middle needs to go. And you know, I do think this looks a little bit better. Again, we have some space in here that's going to need landscaping, but that's okay. As for these spaces over here, I've decided to do a mix of some, I think there's some low density commercial right here. There's some higher density commercial right here as well. And then this space back here, I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with. Although in saying that, it does look like I could probably get away with a road straight through here and then use that as sort of the basis of sort of extending into this area. I'm not against doing that. I think it might be okay. I don't necessarily want too much of this space to be just filled with pointless trees, because obviously you can't do custom parks in Cities Skylines 2 right now. So just doing nothing but trees really isn't going to serve much of a purpose. Although a road to nowhere isn't really going to serve much of a purpose either. So maybe what we do instead is take out some of these buildings so I can see what I'm doing. We'll go ahead and bring this guy sort of up to here. And that's going to maybe give us a bit of a corner building. And then maybe we just come off of here if it's going to let me do this and use this as another way to get down to this space, which again, I'm not really against doing. I think it's probably fair enough that we get multiple ways sort of around this entire area. So something like that's not too bad. Again, it fills the space. Not going to be perfect in terms of, well, being a grid or anything remotely like a grid, but again, it's not the end of the world. Although in saying that, I have to wonder, would I be able to just come off of here in a nice straight line to there? I sort of could. It's not going to link up perfectly with this road, and it might cause problems with that little pedestrian road, but I might do it just to make things a little neater around here so we can get a little bit more of a grid going. Or alternatively, I just do away with this little four-way intersection. I come straight off of here, and that would also give me a grid, which I think is actually what I'm going to try and do. So let's take out all of these buildings for a second, and then basically I would want to come off of this guy, something like this. That is not lining up at all. That is not what I'm looking for. That's also not the middle of the road. Okay, we'll take out these guys as well. We have this guy, so you're going to come off of here, which is doing some weird stuff with the zoning. What is going on with this road? And so I guess while this builds, it's not going to look perfect, but while it builds, I want to come into this space and just start filling it in with some zoning as well. So what we're going to do is essentially continue this road the entire length of that. And then I'm just going to push some avenues through here. It is going to be creating a few four-way intersections, which honestly, that is not what I'm looking for right there. I've also just cut off power, which is also a bad thing. Yeah, we're going to be creating a few little four-way intersections here. Not the end of the world. I will say, I don't know why these grids don't line up. I'm actually I'm a little annoyed about that. I'm not going to lie. I don't understand why my grids aren't lining up anymore. I feel like they did for the longest time, and now all of a sudden my grids just don't work. And that has me a little bit worried, because it means that somewhere a very long time ago, potentially, I completely messed up my, oh man. Yeah, somewhere at some point in this city, I've messed up my, my zoning, and that's immensely frustrating. That is very, very frustrating, because it means that, yeah, we're slightly screwed is what we are. I don't know if I can get these to line up. I don't think I can. I don't understand. I actually don't understand how I've done this or how this has happened. Oh, wait, is it there? That's a little bit off. I don't know. I have no idea how this has happened. I mean, I can bring this out as long as I don't connect it to the tracks. It's fine. So maybe that's what we're going to have to do, is just not connect it to the tracks, but I kind of need to, because it's kind of important. Although I think I'm just going to have to put up with the fact that this is not going to snap together perfectly. So that's just how it's going to be. What I'm also going to do is take out these power lines because I sort of need the space, which means we do need to go underground with this guy and just run it out to about there. So that'll keep us good in terms of power. As for what I want to zone in here, basically, I'm going to do a mix of things. We're going to do some North American row houses, just because that will really nicely fill up along the avenue to about there. We'll go a little bit further with it. I'm not going to go the entire way because I'm not 100% sure that I want to go the entire way with these. We're also going to zone this with some row houses. And then this corner, I am not 100% sure. I think some North American medium density would be a bit of an idea. So we'll do 1, we'll do 2, we'll do 3, just to sort of fill. Actually, we'll not do that. We've got 2 right there. We'll bulldoze you, and then we'll just do some row houses sort of along here as well. And we'll do, ooh, that's not what I want. I don't want them on that road. I forgot I have to do that. So I don't want to zone you, and I don't want to zone that one. We'll go up to about there. Let this all fill in, hopefully relatively quickly. And then we'll have a bunch of row houses. We can fill this middle space with... Actually, I wonder if this should be row houses or if this should be low density out there. I almost want to say it should probably be some low density zoning. Maybe on the other side of this road. Maybe these guys. I don't know. I think we'll stick with row houses for now, but I'm considering just saying it should be low density. Now, my hope with this space is that it does deal with a decent chunk of the demand, and it is dealing with some of the medium density demand that we have for housing. It hasn't really put a dent in the low density demand, which makes sense. This really isn't that much in the grand scheme of things. This is a lot of low density down here. This is considerably less. We're also having issues with healthcare and death care across the city, which I do think is partly because of traffic, which I don't know if it's related. I don't know if it's me just imagining things, but I do feel like since the last patch, traffic has just fallen apart. I don't know. It might be because we're approaching 120,000 people. It might not be. We're also apparently making money, that's a new one. I'm not sure how that's come about. I'm not complaining. I like making money. I don't know how we're making money at this point. I also don't want you to be a small building. I want these all to be roughly the same size if I can get them to be. And I also really want them to start filling in this space because I want to see what it's going to look like. But I guess I can take this time to start looking a little bit at some landscaping. Now, I think I'm going to try and get some decent sized trees into this entire place. So spruce trees are actually going to be pretty good for that. They grow to be a pretty good size. So we'll put a bunch of those sort of alongside these. These are going to be commercial buildings right here. So we'll get 5 of them just on this lower side here. And those will grow eventually to be pretty good. We also have a lot of empty space along here, along these houses and along this road. So along here, we'll probably do some alder trees, but this is probably a good place to sort of repeat the 5 spruce trees so that we kind of have that little design thing continuing through the space. It's nicely in line with the existing ones. And we could maybe do the same here with just 4 of them. Since we have this little bit of space, we can do maybe 3. I think we'll do 4 just to, again, fill in the space. We have back here as well. And let's zoom out and have a look. None of the low density stuff's filled in yet. I was really hoping it would have. I do like these North American row houses though. They look pretty good. They don't look quite as old as the European ones, but I don't imagine this would have been... This I don't consider part of the old town. This I sort of do, and this I sort of do, but I like to imagine that this was probably land that was a more recent development, especially this island out here. So I'm kind of okay with using the more modern looking North American row houses. Well, these ones look a little bit old. Some of the, look, it doesn't really matter. I'm going with the North American ones because it looks different. All right. That's why we're doing this. That's why we do anything, because it looks a little bit different and it might be interesting. Now, I will say, as much as I actually really like these two buildings, I'm going to bulldoze this entire corner because I've realized I could go ahead and place the old factory condos in here, or I could place this one as well, which actually, no, I couldn't. It's a bit too big unless I can put it on this road, which I actually can. Ooh. Okay, it has a really cool looking garden behind it, which makes me think it shouldn't be right next to train tracks. So we'll just do we'll do these condos, which makes for such a good looking corner piece for this little area. I absolutely adore that. And then it does make me wonder what I could do with this guy. I mean, we could put it right there to sort of be something a little bit different, but that is going to open up a view straight through to that road. We could try and put it here. If I sort of freeform this a little bit, I'm pretty sure I could get it. I mean, I could get it there anyway, because I can just bulldoze the buildings at the back. But if I turn off snapping to roads and I sort of rotate this around a little bit, I'm kind of wondering, I can get it here. I can absolutely get it there. And I'm sort of willing to give that a shot. Yeah, I'm kind of okay with that. It looks a bit weird, but it has a nice little path going up to it. I can do some bushes and stuff in front of it. And has it messed with my zoning? It has a little bit, but it's not really the end of the world. To be completely honest, it's definitely not the end of the world. We'll take this out. We'll just sort of tidy this up a little bit. And I'm mostly okay with that, actually. I think that looks fine. We'll get some buildings in there and all should be good. It's a bit weird looking, but I don't mind it. We can do some landscaping. We, do some paths, make it look pretty, and everything should be fine. Okay, so this whole process of putting trees everywhere took a little bit longer than I thought it would, but that's partly because I decided to go and sort of line a bunch of spaces with a bunch of different trees. And I've got to say, I like how this has turned out. I do, but I think I'm really, really excited for when these trees grow, because I think it's going to look so much better. And in saying that, there's also a bunch of spaces where I probably want to go in and manually make things a little bit more dense, because as I've mentioned before, these North American houses don't have as many trees on them as the European houses. And I'm going to stick to my guns this time around. I know the North American houses, as we've talked about, have so much concrete around them, but some of them are okay. I mean, this one's not so bad. I actually really like the grass at the back of this. And by the way, just speaking about the grass and this sort of thing, I know dev mode exists. I don't know if we've talked about dev mode in City Skylines 2 in a video just yet. I'm working it out. I'm playing around with it and trying to figure out what dev mode is and how it does things. I know there's tutorials out there, but I'm having fun figuring it out. Now, speaking of figuring things out, we are going to have to figure out something to do about all of this traffic that has appeared ever since we've gone ahead and built this entire space. Obviously, this road was never really designed to deal with huge amounts of traffic. What I'm sort of thinking is that getting rid of that roundabout might not be a terrible idea, and going in here and saying put traffic lights on that intersection, because at the very least, it should mean once these vehicles kind of figure themselves out, it should mean that we're dealing with phasing. It should mean that these guys are able to move eventually. It might slow things down, but I'm hoping it gets my industrial traffic moving just a little bit. We do have traffic lights here as well that are slowing things down, as I kind of expected they would. Although in saying that, I almost wonder if it would be worthwhile going in here and saying, you know, swap this guy out for an asymmetrical road. So 3 lanes going in there gives us a dedicated turning lane. 3 lanes going this way gives us a dedicated turning lane. And arguably we could do the same thing here and get a dedicated turning lane as well. So I think I am going to do that. So again, we have some dedicated turning lanes. Hopefully that's going to help traffic filter just a little bit. And then here as well, I'm inclined to say, you know, it's going to get rid of some buildings, but I think I'm going to have to do it. Dedicated turning lane and dedicated turning lanes. So that again, we're kind of giving traffic some options a little bit. I don't love what it's done here. I don't love that it got rid of my buildings, but I think we're just going to have to deal with the fact that it's done that. And then maybe put some detailing around this roundabout as well, just so it doesn't look as weird as it does. That said, I'm hoping some dedicated lanes, once traffic figures itself out, I'm hoping some dedicated lanes will help us. In saying that, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not entirely convinced that something hasn't happened to the traffic AI. I know my city wasn't really built with 120,000 sims in mind, but I've noticed in a few places that traffic will sort of do the old City Skylines 1 thing, where it does that. What we just, yeah, the 90-degree turn on a highway for seemingly no reason. Now, I have read about this, and I have seen people saying that what traffic does is it'll get out into this lane because there's an opening, and then further up, it's going to try and merge back into the lane that it was in previously. I don't know if that's what's going on. It seems to me like traffic is leaving it until really late to get out into whatever lane it needs to be in, which is very City Skylines 1 kind of behavior. So I don't know. I know obviously part of the problem is my road layouts aren't great, but I swear traffic has gotten weird as well. Also, just as a point, just to give you an idea of how long it took me to do all of this, this is built. It's still polluted, but it's all started, you know, coming together, and the trees have started growing. So just to give you an idea of how long, you know, it's been between the last episode and then how long it took me to build all of this. Man, it feels like I've done nothing today. I'm zooming out and looking at this, and I mean, this looks really cool, but it doesn't feel like I've done much. Although I've just had an idea, and I don't know if it's a good idea, but it's something I'm going to try because it might be kind of fun. I want to add tram tracks to a bunch of these roads and have some trams that sort of go around this space. Again, not sure it's a good idea. I'm hoping it doesn't mess up my keys, which it doesn't look like it's gonna. But I think having some trams going out here might be kind of fun. Although I'm not too sure how they'll function because there's not a lot of connections to a lot of different places here, but we'll figure it out. We'll get some trams going around this. I might just want to double tram track this entire thing, to be honest. But we'll do one way for now is what we'll do. And I'm actually thinking that maybe I don't want it going down here. Maybe I want it to use sort of like this road up here or something like. Can I put tram tracks on an alley? Oh, I think I can. That's kind of cool. All right. Well, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is bring them across here And then I guess I need to, there we go. Do I just right click to clear them off of this? I absolutely do. I should know that by now, but I just wanted to be sure. Then what we'll do is bring them over this way. That's it's going in the wrong direction is what that's doing. We want to go this way with it. And I don't necessarily want to bring it onto this road because it's going to be a nightmare for traffic, but I'm going to because I'm I don't know, a sucker for punishment, I guess. That's not making the turn though, probably because it's too, oh, that's not good. that's not good. That's probably too sharp of a turn for a tram to make, huh? All right, maybe we do need to continue this way then, and we'll hit this. Can I go this way? Yeah, so I can make that turn. It is going to limit the number of lanes on this road now, which I don't love. So might want to do something about, oh my God. I don't love that it just cuts straight across the road, but okay, that's the thing we're doing. We'll continue it down here. Let's see, where's it going to go? I think it can merge with this. I think that'll be okay. It can kind of merge across. It can come down. It can have a stop by the schools. And then maybe it goes this way just because it can. It can then cut down between these buildings. There's no reason it wouldn't just go down this avenue, but I'm not going to do that because reasons. And then we'll just bring it around like this. So that gives us a loop, which is fair enough. I don't know if it's going to be good. I don't know if it's going to be bad. I have no idea, but we're going to give it a shot. So we have a tram stop here. I figure we might as well do a tram stop. I should probably try and get some paths connecting some of these roads, shouldn't I? For now, we'll do a tram stop here since it's by that intersection. We can do another one sort of here since it's by that intersection. And then we'll do one sort of, I guess, by this this intersection here and by this crash, which is fine. And then up this way, I really don't think trams should stop on this main road. I'm gonna be honest. There's a very, very good reason it shouldn't. Traffic's a nightmare, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So we'll stop them right about there. And that seems like decent enough coverage. I think that'll be all right. So we'll go ahead and connect these guys together. I'm a little bit excited to see what this looks like. I think trams coming out here is going to be sort of adorable. So that's kind of the reason I'm going for it. And then what I want to do as well is go to my trams. I want to go to my new line and I want to make it, I don't know what, maybe green? I think green would be kind of interesting. Sort of a, like that color. And I guess we'll see if it's popular. I don't know if it will be. I have a sneaking suspicion it won't be, but it's kind of cool to have anyway. And you know what? I've got to be honest, 61 passengers on board is not bad for one of these trams. If we go around and have a look at the next stop, there's actually, let's see, 134 people waiting, which is pretty good. I'm not gonna sniff at that. And I don't remember where the other stops are. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. There's no one waiting here, which is probably fair enough. If we look over this way, what have we got? Have we got anyone waiting here? We've got a number of people. We got 60 people on board the old tram, which is not too bad. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that I may or may not have made this place look like this now. I spent a lot of time between episodes just putting in a lot of trees, a lot of detailing, a lot of stuff like that. It turned out pretty good though, if I do say so myself. And I'm also wondering, I feel like we don't need a tram stop in here. I feel like people can walk from that stop down to these buildings if they really want to. Okay, so with a bunch of trees in here around this roundabout and with a bunch of trees now lining this entire promenade, I think we're probably good to leave it there for today. Like I said, this episode's taken a little longer to put together than they usually do, but I like how this has turned out. It kind of has the vibe that I was looking for. I'm hoping that it'll look better when the trees come in, but it's going to be about like 2.5 hours of gameplay before we see what it actually looks like. And obviously, I kind of need to fill in some of these spaces. I'm not too sure what these are necessarily going to be. I think this will probably be a little extension of suburb, and then we'll try and sort of feather it out into some woodland here, and then maybe make the woods between this industry and this area a little bit more dense, so there's a bit more of a divide between them. Or we could potentially just have this go a little closer, do a slightly smaller woodland area, and almost bring this industry into the city. Obviously, we also need to do some stuff on the right side of this road to get rid of this very, very harsh line that's going on. But for now, I'm actually really pleased with this. So I am going to leave it there for today. Thank you so much for watching. Wait a minute. That's not right. No. I don't think so. I didn't spend however long I spent on this episode to have that little bit of dirt right there. That's better. That's much better. All right, where was I? Anyway, yeah, that's going to do us for today. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.